Hello and welcome back to the Real Estate Roundup podcast. So, in today's episode, we're going to be covering a topic that I think a lot of people in the real estate market have been waiting to hear news like this for quite a while now. And that is, if you guys have been following the market, the interest rates did drop a little bit just about a week ago, a couple of days ago, and the market is moving. So, I think there's going to be a lot of questions, a lot of speculation and people wanting to potentially make their move if they're in the real estate market to buy very soon here that weren't looking to maybe make the move when the interest rates were a little bit higher. So today we're going to be covering some questions about that and having our real estate professionals here on the show answer these questions for you. So my name is Kobe Zinn, and I'm joined here today by Andres Martinez and Tony Flores, real estate professionals here in Texas. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah. Are we happy about the news of the interest rates moving a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah. They've made a positive stride here recently. So, we're going to obviously everything is kind of up to the Federal Reserve and all those kinds of outside factors. But we're just hoping that, maybe things will get better here as there is some uncertainty heading into the elections. But we know people want to play nice around the elections. The gas prices tend to go down. Maybe the interest rates will go down. We don't know. We're just going to today we're just going to kind of speculate and just kind of talk about what's kind of happening in the market and things like that.
Yeah, so we should probably stockpile on gas, right? Closer to the election when it's a little bit cheaper. But no, I think it's going to be interesting today because to answer some of these questions. So as we all know, the interest rates did move a little bit. Depending on where you're listening to this episode, it could be about a week or so ago. So in your perspective as a real estate professional, and we'll start with you on this one. I'll go to you, Tony. And that is, what should people be doing now that the interest rates have moved? Should they be waiting or should they be a little bit more aggressive now in the real estate market than they were maybe a couple months ago?
My recommendation would be be prepared. Have your down payments ready. Make sure that you start connecting with your real estate agent, your sales professionals. Start educating in the area you want to live in. Start gathering information. So if you found an area or a specific home, anytime that these interest rates, they're likely to drop the interest rates in September. It's all speculation now, but it's something that a lot of my lender friends have told me that they're strongly, they're encouraged that hopefully September is going to be that month when interest rates and the Fed cuts them. It might be minimal, but even if it's a slight drop, us in the new home builders side of things, now we're able to promote a 4.99 interest rate because we're able to buy those rates down just with that small dip that we had here over the past 5 days. So any positive news is a good thing for future buyers. And sellers. So a lot of sellers have had their properties sit on the market for 8-9 months. Some people even longer. So, guys, good news is the interest rates are looking like they're gonna drop, and we do have inventory. So there's an inventory of homes. So opportunities are going to present themselves.
Yeah, so being prepared for what's going to happen next is very important. Not just on the buyer side, but also on the seller side, like you mentioned. Which I think we're going to circle back to that a little bit later here on the show. But same thing for you, Tony. What is the opinion that you have now that you've kind of seen what the interest rates have been doing in the past week or so? If you have a client, maybe somebody in the market to buy a home. They're thinking of maybe being a little bit more aggressive, or should they be waiting now that things are moving a little bit towards the positive side?
Yeah. So what we're seeing right now is just there's been a lot of people kind of on the sidelines, not sure what they're going to do. And, I had one reach out to me very recently. We went to an open house, or we We met at the open house, and what they told me was they've been paying attention to the rates. They noticed they dropped, and consequently, at that same time, the house that was at the open house, the price dropped on that house. It was originally listed at 429,000. It was actually on that day it was $350,000. So when you have houses that are sitting on the market, and because there's been so many people on the sidelines, people that were waiting to elect to purchase a house versus people that needed to buy a house. The people that needed to buy a house found the house. If they're electing to buy the house, that means they're just would like to buy a house, right? Those are the ones that have been sitting on the sidelines, and I can't foresee a big shift in the rates, but slight decrease in interest rates certainly help the monthly payment. But I think what you're going to see is like people are just sitting on houses too long. They're just ready to sell it. They can do one of two things. They can mark the house down even more, or they can apply a credit towards the rate buy down. So when Andres and when all the builders get to do offer a lower interest rate, what they're essentially is doing is they're taking part of their marketing dollars or part of their dollars that they could possibly charge a higher price on that house. What they're doing is they're taking those dollars and they're saying, we're going to prepay the interest rate, and we're going to prepay the interest rate to the lender, which means that they're going to get money up front, and that's going to equate to a lower interest payment, a fixed interest payment that's lower, either for 1 year, 2 years, or even a 30-year fixed rate. So they do have rate buy downs, and they do have fixed rates that are really low. So that's one thing that's really important. The same way the builders can do that, same way the sellers that are with the pre-existing homes can do that as well. They can offer rate buy downs. So how that gets negotiated, you want to talk about that. Instead of taking $10,000 off the price, can they do 10,000 credit towards a rate buy down? That'll be a huge decrease in the monthly payment. So of course, all things relative, but that's going to really help out a lot more than it's going to save them a lot more than $10,000 over the life of the loan for sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Andres.
And then also, guys, just setting an expectation. So in a healthy market, guys, a good interest rate is mid 5s, 6%. We're not that far off. We're like at a 6.5, maybe 6.45. It fluctuates from day to day, but we're not that far off from having a good interest rate in a healthy market. Our expectations have grown to the 2s, the 3s, the 4s, which were presented to us because we didn't want our economy to collapse during COVID. So setting an expectation of what a good interest rate, something in the 5s is a really good interest rate. The expectation of them going back to 2, guys, we might not ever see that again.
Yeah, so I do think a lot of people are waiting for maybe that drop right all the way down to 2, or maybe probably not anything lower than that, but probably closer to that number. So I'm guessing, in your guys' opinion, it would not be wise to wait for something that drastic to happen. Is that what I'm getting at?
Yes.
Right. We don't see them getting that low. I don't see them for sure getting that low anymore, because essentially the rate of inflation is always going to be higher than what we were seeing at those interest rates. So it just doesn't make sense for a lot of people or a lot of the banks to offer 2s, 3s, and even 4s. But time will tell for sure. But my opinion is I don't expect to see those come back. It was a great thing for a long period. I just don't see those numbers coming back.
Yeah. And one of the things I think people are wondering now is, obviously buying a home is not something that can be necessarily done, overnight, right? And it's not like getting a Prime delivery on Amazon. So probably people are more so thinking of what their timeline should be, right? Because from the time they start considering buying a home, like seriously considering buying a home now, to the time that they're actually making the purchase, the rates could be could be different again, right? Could have gone up, gone down, right? It's hard to predict that exactly. So in that timeline, do you think people should be moving maybe a little bit faster, or maybe a little bit more conservatively and a little bit slower, just to see how things play out, and then maybe be able to speed back up their process? If the I guess the interest rates make a turn more in their favor. We'll start with you, Andres, on this one.
So, guys, when you find a home in an area that you like, we're in a buyer's market where you can negotiate and try to get as much incentive, and hopefully you could try to get your the rate bought down, right? So if you can get to a 5.5, uh, even a 4.99, those are great options if you find in a home that has a reduced price and you're getting a better interest rate than the market is presenting, uh, and you're able to buy the house that you fell in love with. During the time when we had the twos and the threes and the fours, people were practically entering lotteries, and then, hey, you won the lottery. This is the house that you won. Take it or leave it. And then guess what? You're going to have a mortgage on top of the lottery you just won. So right now, you could pick the home that you fell in love with, try to negotiate, and that's where your realtor comes in. Try to negotiate as much incentive, try to get your interest rate bought down through an incentive, and move forward with that transaction, so you could get the most bang for your buck.
And when you're talking about a lottery, I think you're talking about a bidding war. Is that what you're talking about, Andres?
Oh, so there were some people where I walked into certain like builders, and people would put earnest money down, and then they would kind of like, these are the 5 properties, and then they will go down the list and they would tell you, okay, I'm just making up a name of a house, right? All right, your name Drew the James. Do you want this property? Yes, no. And if you didn't want it, it would go to the next person on the list. So when there was a shortage of inventory, uh, there were people buying homes that they necessarily didn't fall in love with. They were just happy to have the opportunity to buy a home. Now,
Right.
some of those people, hey, nothing wrong. They got the lucky draw. They got that big house they wanted. Other people might be regretting that choice today. So, right now, you could pick the house that you fall in love with, try to negotiate as much incentives, and push forward so you can start building memories with your family.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now's the time that there's inventory sitting that's been stagnant, and some of it's great inventory. And then I did a walkthrough on a house, and the buyers really liked the house, but they were still like, they know they have some time to make a decision, so they're not in a big rush. If we were to put an offer on that house, more than likely, even if it was under the asking price, it's very likely that the seller would accept it. So, when they're ready to pull the trigger, that's when we'll pull the trigger. But at the end of the day, the agent is doing a great job because they're keeping in contact. Hey, do they want to come back? Do they have any other questions? Or they're very engaging. That realtor is doing a very good job of follow up. But my buyers right now are just kind of still sitting and not completely sold. When the time's right for them, they're going to make that decision. But that's what the landscape looks like in a lot of cases. In a lot of areas, people are going to take their time, be more discerning, and be able to find the property at the right price that makes them happy. And at the end of the day, they can get lower interest rates, other than what you're seeing advertised out there right now through rate buy downs.
Yeah. So one of the things I think is important to address as well is, in what scenario should people be waiting? Maybe waiting a little bit longer, being a little bit more conservative. What scenario, either personally for them or maybe the market they're specifically in, Should they be just sitting, kind of waiting and looking, and maybe for the rates to drop even lower, or maybe not to like the twos or the threes that some people might be hoping for, but maybe just a little bit more before they pull the trigger. And we'll start with you on this one, Tony.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's specific by the person. I would say what would be a scenario. Well, they're not. At the end of the day, they're not going to be in a rush. If they're not in a rush, then they're comfortable waiting. But that doesn't mean that's made the best decision for them. It might not be the best decision because they might say, "Hey, we waited all this length of time, and now, maybe we missed out on a house that we really actually did like, and we're not seeing those types of houses." So it's really person specific. So kind of hard for me to answer that question because I treat everyone individually. Like I try to assess their needs and where they want to be and what their timeline looks like, and then we kind of go from there.
Yeah, so it depends on everybody's specific scenario, right? Whether or not they're actually, needing to buy a home, what they're actually looking for, and then, what they're comfortable with as far as the actual price, and really more importantly that the monthly payments they're comfortable at making and they're actually able to keep making, so that way they don't lose the house. But same thing for you, Andres. On the new home side, right? Should people be waiting a little bit more because they're maybe looking for, they see new homes going up everywhere here and there. They're they don't feel like they will be missing out. So they're maybe hoping for a little bit lower rates and a little bit lower monthly payments so they can maintain for maybe a longer period of time.
So my opinion is if you qualify and if you have a down payment, you should maximize what value you can get now. If you could get something in the fours, I would jump on it. I would have jumped on it yesterday, right?
Mm.
Because it's a great opportunity. And if price is right, if they have came down a little bit, as Tony has been speaking, right now is a good time to get a deal, right? Um, I think the only time someone should wait is if they're working on their credit or if they're going to stretch their budget. But if you could find the home that you fall in love with and it fits your budget and your monthly payments are where they need to be, you should be in the market today because there is some great deals, especially with new builders, where you're able to get rates in the fours because they're offering fixed rate buy downs. Okay? So if you could get a fixed interest rate of a 4.9, a 4.75, I've seen these out in the market. It would be a good idea to jump in the market if you qualify and if it meets your budget.
Yeah, exactly. So again, it just depends on what people are looking for, right? But you mentioned, people who are trying to maybe repair their credit a little bit, different things like that. Those things obviously take a little bit more time. So it really comes down to where you're at, and what the specific scenario is. And one of the scenarios that I think a lot of people will have questions on, because as a seller, if you need to move somewhere, just needing to sell your home, then they need to sell it, right? There's not not a lot of back and forth with that, right? Not a lot of wiggle room. But for a lot of people, both on the selling and the buying side, um, who are maybe uncertain a little bit, is people who maybe want to upsize or downsize, right? Who own a home currently, but they're looking to maybe buy another home that's a little bit bigger or downsize a little bit, right? Maybe if their children have moved out and they're looking to move into more of kind of like a retirement lifestyle. So for people who are considering that, right, when they own a home now and they're looking to purchase a home after selling their current home, what is your advice to those people who are considering entering the market both as a seller and as a buyer? And we'll start with you, Andres, and we'll wrap up with you, Tony.
So when someone's looking to downsize, um, that's a fairly tough one to answer. It would be case by case because if somebody bought at a lower interest rate, where we had these historically low interest rates, even if you downsize and the interest has risen, let's just say you bought a house and it's in the twos and the threes, even if you downsize and let's just say your interest rates is in the high fours or the fives, uh, you could possibly either be paying a little bit more or kind of paying the same payment for less square footage. So that's a case by case scenario. You would have to get with a real estate professional that can walk you through that process, because they need to do an independent evaluation for every client.
Yeah. And same thing for you, Tony. What, as a real estate agent, what are you evaluating if you have a client come to you with that scenario, where they're considering moving away, either upsizing or downsizing?
One thing that people, if they are in an interest rate that's been more favorable than what are out there right now, they might be interested in looking at are the houses that they're looking at, or do they have assumable loans? Because in some cases you can assume somebody else's loan, you can get the interest rate that they captured when they purchased it, and then you can find out, through some due diligence, through even some negotiation, hey, is it possible that this loan is assumable? And so it's possible to do that. So and if they're selling a house, we can take some time to make sure that that is going to look top of market, as opposed to just kind of similar to the market. There's different things that I do for my sellers that will make the house show better. It starts with consultation. It starts with looking at what's currently in the home. Are there things that can be moved around, or things that need to be pulled out? So there's a lot of different things that I can help them with, and even bring in additional professionals to make the best decisions for them, so that their house is going to show right on the listing pictures. We're going to bring in a lot of people for the open house, for the opening weekends, and we're going to try to make a big push to get as many people in there as possible. And then we, hopefully start getting some offers. And then the more offers we have, of course, usually it's more favorable. People want to know, are there any offers in hand? And then we move forward. So we want it to show best, so that they can maximize their sale, and got lots of different ways to help them with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of different things that sellers can do, right? You mentioned the assumable loans. That's very interesting, right? So even if the interest rates weren't more favorable as they have been in the past week or so, that's something that a lot of people might not have known about, right? If you have a better interest rate, people can actually take that over. If they're buying your home as well. So so I think we covered a lot of interesting points today. It's really difficult to predict for sure exactly what's going to happen with interest rates, but I think a lot of people, after seeing the news that was, past week, as far as the interest rate dropping a little bit, they're a little bit more active. There's a lot more optimism, I think, for people who are in the real estate market, which is important, right?
I saw a major surge of excitement, and I saw a lot of buyers out these last couple of days. So there's some excitement back in the market, which had been a tough market for us in 2023 or 2024. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, hey, 2023 as well. I think it carried over from 2023. So yeah, I think a lot of people have been waiting for some good news, right? Which we're happy to share a little bit in our insights on. So was there anything else you guys wanted to cover before we wrap up today's episode, or do you think we pretty much covered it all here?
I think the main thing is just to make sure you talk to the realtor, see how creative they can get on different ideas and different ways they can help with strategizing to make the house more affordable. If you're looking to buy, if you're looking to sell, how can the house be most attractive, and what kind of marketing, what kind of activity do they expect? How are they going to kind of lay out the marketing plan for you? I think that's super important.
Yep, absolutely. So make sure to reach out to either Tony or Andres. Their contact information is in the description as always. So they're make sure to help take care of you and help you get to your real estate goals, whether the market's doing well or maybe not so well. But we're glad that it is doing a lot better with the good news for the past week. So make sure to reach out to either Tony or Andres in the description down below. But other than that, appreciate you guys. Appreciate you for tuning in to the Real Estate Roundup, and we'll see you on our next episode. Take care.